Bepis, and welcome back to our Crusader Kings 3 guide series. Now, when we last left off on the series, I was talking about civil wars. We're back on the same save, only this time we're going to be talking about vassals, because I touched upon it briefly in the last episode, and then somebody gave me a good idea on a recent post I made to talk about what makes a good vassal. Why do you pick who you pick? That sort of thing. So, I went back through my videos. I realized I briefly touched upon the subject of granting vassals and granting land, and I didn't really touch on it enough, so we're going to do that this time. So, first things first, when you get land, by whatever means, in this case it was conquest. We conquered this ducal title in Wales. When you get land from any means, sometimes you get vassals with the land. Now these vassals aren't very keen on me. Short reign, tribal, different tribal is because different government type, offensive war, too many duchies held by liege. Liege holds de jure duchy below legitimacy expectation. Ceremonious. There's a lot of reasons why these new guys don't like us. So, should I pick one of these guys in this scenario to rule over this land I just took over? Ideally, yes. Sometimes. In this case, this man who's in charge of Gwent is terrified of us, and so is his heir. Now, our dread is fairly high, which is contributing to it. But if I grant him or his son this land, it will give them a big opinion bonus. Now, generally, whoever you give land to is going to like you. You want to predict for the next generation. See, how Crusader Kings works, you want to predict down the line what's going to cause problems. What I like to do, for the most part, when I get new land, I like to go into the grant land, and what I do is you can use this little magnifying glass here, and you can search for traits. Now, one trait is Craven. I like using the Craven trait because it doesn't matter their opinion of you if they're always terrified of you. If they have the Craven trait, they are a coward. They will always be terrified of you. Shy also works pretty well. Shy people are generally going to be more afraid of you than not shy people. But also other personality traits come into it as well. Impatient cancels out a little bit of Shy's cowardice. Sadistic also cancels out a little bit of Shy's cowardice. Diligent cancels it out a little bit as well. In general, people are just a little bit more afraid of you by default. There's also a couple of other traits that are more likely to make people afraid of you. I think paranoid will make them very afraid of you. Trusting makes them afraid of you. I think forgiving is also one of those where it's kind of like shy, where there's a little bit of fright in there. But in this particular scenario, where taking into account our government, we're a tribe. These guys are feudal down here. You don't want to split this up into too many small places, because then all these small guys will gang up on you, and it's much easier to keep one person happy than to make multiple people unhappy and try and keep multiple people happy. What I would do in this specific scenario, I like the Lord of Gwent here, but he's about to die. He's afraid of us. He's intimidated. I do not like the Lord of Dyfed over here. He's not afraid of us, and he's got a fairly strong personality. And Gambler, what that means, his character personality is Gambler. What this personality means is he's more likely to take risks. He's also less affected by dread, it says, But what this means is he's more likely to try and form a faction with us, against us, to try and gamble. He's also, his economic archetype is also warlike. This is something I didn't talk about ever, because it rarely shows up. But in cases like this, when you're trying to determine personality, you want to take a look at character personality and economic archetype. It's very short. You have a bunch of different character personalities based on their traits. In this one, Gambler is probably because he's impatient and diligent. That's probably what's giving him the Gambler personality. For economic archetype, Warlike, I think there's Builder, and there's one more, I think it's like Conqueror or something. But Warlike means they're trying to save gold for war instead of investing. If they're at peace for a long period of time, they'll start investing in their own buildings, but it's not their first option. They're always going to look for an opportunity to declare war. So, I want to have somebody who's strong enough to resist this one county here, but also not so weak that they're going to get bowled over by this guy and this guy takes over. What I'm looking for is more like this guy. He's a cowardly planner. He's extremely rational, and he's going to avoid offensive war, and he's trying to do what's best for the situation he's in. Either avoid war, exchange hostages, cut spending while in debt. This guy seems like he'd be a good leader. Now, his stats aren't very good all around, but I'm not putting him in here for his stats. I don't need him to be good at ruling, I need him to be loyal. And this guy is going to be very loyal. He's also the heir of this province down here. So when the Lord of Gwent dies, his son, the Duke of Deheubarth, however the hell you're supposed to pronounce that, the Duke of that place is going to inherit this lordship as well, and he's going to inherit all the levies and taxes from here. This place is already built up. This place recently just underwent conquest, so its control is extremely low. And he's going to have to regain control of that. Now, he's probably going to give away a piece of land because he's over his domain limit, which is annoying, but that's mostly based on his education trait. We got an event here. I'm gonna go into the church. Courtly admiration. It's okay. Give it to the Archbishop. Alright. Now, in a different scenario, how do you go about divvying up land? Well, let's switch to a different place. The Byzantines, they're administrative. How the administrative government works is it's based on powerful family rating. Now, if you look down here, living house members in realm, but also how many of your house members control land. So in this scenario, if you ever get land that you want to divvy up, let's see here, is there anybody who... not really. Essentially, if there is land in here that you want to divvy up, let's say I don't like this guy, and I revoke this holding. I don't like him, for whatever reason. This is hypothetical. I can now grant this land to somebody. Now, what I would want to do in this scenario is House Macedon. There's 6 living members. I would want to grab our half-brother here, grant him this appointment. Because what that does is that now increases your powerful family rating. It'll update soon. It needs to change. Now, what this does is, because there's a landed member of your dynasty in your realm, they will contribute to this. Here's the other benefit. This guy is, even discounting the fact that he's a coward, this guy will now not try and rebel against us in this scenario because of appointment succession. This guy can campaign to become the emperor. He doesn't need to start a faction. Now, he may start a faction if he's not irrational or just plain evil, but he's much less likely in this scenario to start a faction against the Empire because he stands to inherit if he plays his cards right. And you as the ruler don't discount that either, because if this guy's better than your heir, this guy, it may be wise to vote for this guy, or if in this scenario your heir is too young to actually rule, it's better to vote for this guy for the time being, so that if for whatever reason you die, your realm gets inherited properly and doesn't explode. Now, what about in some place like France? I know he's at war. Don't worry about it. In France, let's say I want to give up this land. You could give it to your family, however, this proves more dangerous down the line. Because if you give it to your other son, yes, he'll be loyal for your first life. Yes, he might even be loyal to his brother. But when he dies and his son takes over, and you're playing as the brother, this brother or your son or your grandson will hate their I think it's cousin. Yeah, they will hate their cousin or nephew or niece or whatever relation you have with this guy here. You will hate each other, and this guy will have a claim to your entire kingdom. And they will form a faction and try to oust you from power. So in a scenario like this, what you want to do is go back to the original. If it's a piece of land that is fairly out of the way and not very powerful at all, you can definitely go for stats, like go search by stewardship. People who have a stewardship are usually going to have a better economic outlook for stuff like builder. They're going to try and reinvest into their land. That's the other thing you got to look for. You got to look for not only personality trait, but you also got to look for the economic archetype. So our previous character, if the AI were to take over him, analytical zealot. He's going to always be zealous. And warlike, always going to be trying to declare war. Whereas the vassals in here, economic type unpredictable. That was the other one, I think. Unpredictable archetype. Cautious is the other one. Be prepared to war, and they will instead buffer and build up their realm. Unpredictable. Let's see here. Cautious. Over here. Unpredictable. You don't want the unpredictable. Right here's the other one. Builder. You want to find somebody with this economic archetype. The builder economic archetype. Calm, patient, diligent, generous, stubborn, profligate, domain focus. You want to find somebody with those if you want to look for somebody who's going to build up your land. Try and pair it with high stewardship. So, for example, this guy. Diligent, high stewardship, stubborn, forgiving. He's going to like that land. So if you give him that land, builder archetype. There you go. Honorable absolver, very forgiving. That one right there is a good rival. If you can't find someone cowardly, you want to find somebody like this. Vassal stance doesn't matter nearly as much. But you builder, honorable absolver, some kind of honorable or some kind of good version of themselves. For clan government, it's a lot different as well. Clan government, you also want to go clan government, you also want to go and look out for your family, because your most powerful vassals in clan governments want an alliance with you. So if you go down to subjects, powerful vassal, no alliance as powerful clan vassal, minus 30. 30! You want to get rid of that if you can. So you go to your powerful vassal, and you say, well, let's see, I have a bunch of sons. We'll have one of our sons marry one of your daughters, or vice versa. One of our daughters marry one of your sons. Do that. The problem, again, is they'll end up with claims on your land. You can mitigate it by doing another marriage, which you should probably be doing, or just by simply crushing them in a civil war and replacing them with cowards. Now, the reason why I like cowards so much is because cowardice can get passed on. Rulers tend to pass on their traits to their children. For example, I'm raising our son, the son with the wife. If I educate him, I'm much more likely to pass on brave, ambitious, or zealous. At least one of those is likely to be passed on. Probably ambitious, because that one usually ends up getting passed on a lot. Zealous has a fairly good chance of getting passed on, but you'll also get a couple of events where you won't get what you want, and those events, those will give you essentially random traits. I don't think Brave, I've ever seen Brave get passed on. It only stays with one character usually, and then disappears. I don't know what it is, but the event where you get Brave is very rare for some reason. But Cowardly, that event pops up a lot. I've seen it way too much. So if you have somebody raising their own son, and that guy is a coward, this guy, his wife's pregnant, godless antagonist, very vengeful, very cynical, he's more likely to pass on at least cynical. I think humble is what's actually making him more scared of us. But he's more likely to pass on cynical and humble than vengeful. Vengeful has a chance to pass on, yeah, every trait has a chance to get their events for it, but some are a lot more common than others. And Cowardly is one of those traits that tends to be a little bit more common. But, oh, that's honestly shocking. Northumbria is still ruled by the House of Northumbria. Well, you don't see that very often. Anyway, when you grant somebody of the other mechanics of granting a vassal, I kind of glossed over that a little bit. But you basically select a piece of land, you select this title. Over here, there's a button that says Grant Title, or you can find somebody through the character finder, or find somebody right here, like let's say our son. Grant Title, there's a button right there. You can just click on here and have him granted that title. Or you can, or if you don't know the name of what you want to grant and you can't read it over here, or you zoomed in, you can just click it, and it'll grant it. Now granted, you can't click it again to you can click it again to deselect, but for whatever reason, it's not working for me. Might be a bug. But anyway, that is vassals, and what kind of vassals, what to look out for, and how to grant vassals, and what to generally look for. Oh, one more note. If you are a king or a duke and you want to have a vassal under you, they cannot be the same title tier as you, or else they will immediately go independent. Kings can have duke and count vassals, but they cannot have other king vassals. Dukes can have county or lord vassals underneath them. They cannot have a ducal vassal underneath them. And if you are a emperor, you cannot have an emperor vassal underneath you, but you gain the ability to have king vassals underneath you. And if you are a hegemony, you can have emperor vassals underneath you, but you cannot have hegemony vassals underneath you. So when you're giving out land, make sure you do not give away land that will go, that is the same title tier as you. And when you go over here and you click it, it will tell you right here, under here, if you're going to give somebody land and it's going to go independent, it will say right here in big red letters, it will say, granting this land will make this person independent. Read what you're doing before you click the grant title, because also over here, gain 50 stress. He will have the courtly vassal stance. He becomes your vassal. He will gain 60 opinion of you. He will gain 80 opinion of you. So make sure what you're doing before you do it. For example, this guy, received duchy plus 60, received 2 counties plus 80. This guy loves us. Pay attention. Alright, I will see you all in the next episode, so stay tuned and goodbye.